taught you to hate the color of your skin? Who taught you to hate the texture of your hair? Who taught you to hate the shape of your nose and the shape of your lips? Who taught you to hate yourself from the top of your head to the soles of your feet? Who taught you to hate your own kind? Who taught you to hate the race that you belong to? So much so that you don't want to be around each other. No, before you come asking Mr. Muhammad, does he teach hate? You should ask yourself, who taught you to hate being what God gave you?
Most of us blacks, or Negroes as he called us, really thought we were free without being aware that in our subconscious, all those chains we thought had been struck off were still there. And there were many ways where what really motivated us was our desire to be loved by the white man. Malcolm meant to lance that sense of inferiority. He knew it would be painful. He knew that people could kill you because of it, but he dared to take that risk.
He was saying something over and above that of any other leader of that day. While the other leaders were begging for entry into the house of their oppressor, he was telling you to build your own house.
Hoodoo. Hoodoo. Build your own house. One day we're going to get that. That's going to click in with us so hard. It's going to be incredible. We are a few minutes late, but that's how it is when you got your own business and you're trying to get home and walk your dog and all those things that we do on a daily basis and still produce a show. So thanks everyone for joining tonight on the Facebook side and the YouTube side. If you want to see the things that we present, you must come to the YouTube side or wait till we post it on the Facebook side. So the illustrations and all those things. Playing around with some levels here. Sorry. Don't want to blow everybody's ears out. But tonight, I couldn't decide how I really wanted to name this show other than just the fuckery that goes on sometime, and excuse the language, but you know, it's the no PC show. Sometime we just gonna do some things and say some things that may be slightly offensive in the way that they are said. But I was watching one of the NBA programs after all the Kobe Memorial stuff, and they had a show on, and I don't know if they're just trying to talk about race or something like that, but it took a real strong turn, and the question was asked to who was there? Reggie was there. Barkley was there. Weber was there. I think Grant Hill was there. Just a lot of retired NBA. I think Wade was there. A bunch of retired NBA players. And they were asked the question, who's the first white person you trusted? And it kind of took me back, and I said, okay, let me listen to this a little bit, see where they're trying to go with this. And it became all these stories of these white coaches that helped them along the way and didn't treat them as if they were some type of alien. I think Reggie was saying that he grew up on the Army base, so he was always exposed to a lot of different races. And Barkley was talking about the small town he came from and how the white coach embraced him and took him in. And I got to thinking, did y'all realize that y'all were just commodities? Just like they saw that they had a good slave off the auction block, they would shower that slave with types of appreciation to make sure that they were going to get their full value out of that slave. And I know some people would say, well, you're going kind of deep on that. And I'll just say from my position, because I haven't learned to trust them yet, to call them trustworthy, because maybe it's just been my experience that they have always let me down in many different situations. And I don't let people have the excuse. I talk about this with one of my business partners all the time. Oh, well, it's not all of them. And I say, yeah, it's all of them, because they're closer to the racism than we are. They're close to the people that institute the racism and continue to put it out there, which makes it difficult for us. So I came across a clip, and I'm going to share this clip, that I thought was interesting. It's actually white folks admitting to being white folks and doing all the things that I always say that they do. So if you're not on the YouTube side, I put the link out there. If you're not on the YouTube side, then you're probably not going to see it. But the link's there. Click on the link, come over to the YouTube side, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and you can always pick up the show wherever you're at. So on that note, I'm going to play this clip. I think it's about a little bit over 4 minutes. And just listen to the people and what they're saying.
It's very uncomfortable to talk about race. It's not something I do.
I am feeling apprehensive because I think there's a lot of reasons why I feel like I should be able to talk about race.
I don't want to say anything, that would offend anyone.
It's a very touchy subject. It's still difficult, even if you feel like you're on the right side of it, to have a dialogue about it.
Especially for white people, because we don't want to see if the racism that we may be holding on to.
I don't know. Maybe I am racist. I certainly don't like to think that I am. And I think that's too because the perception, in this society, perception of a racist is a guy in a robe.
Now I understand that it's a system of advantages and disadvantages based on race. So as much as there's the disadvantage piece of it, there's the advantage piece of it, which is what I experience as a white person.
I want to bring up race, and I want to bring it up in a frame that helps my children think that there's no difference. But the mere fact that I might be bringing it up could suggest that there is a difference.
I remember asking a friend of my father's who's black why he was called black, because his skin was brown. And I've learned that lots of people that are white ask this question, and maybe they also received the answer that I got from my parents, which was like, oh my gosh, we're so sorry that she asked that, and it's just a term, like, move on.
One of my third grade students seemed pretty rocked after the Eric Garner case or death, and came up to me and said, why, when you were little, like, were you worried about this stuff too? And I knew what he was talking about before. I mean, I didn't say, what do you mean, what stuff? I didn't want to, play dumb. And I said, no, like, I didn't have to be, and that's not fair. And that was really hard because he just kind of sat there, and it honestly seemed like the first time that he had considered the fact that not everyone had to think about race all the time.
I know that I'm white, and I guess I'm part of that collection. But I don't think about being white. I don't.
I really did not know that I had a racial identity. I knew I was white. I had no idea what that meant, how that had shaped my outlook on life, how that had shaped my sense of optimism, sense of belonging, sense of safety, sense of feeling entitled to go help children that I thought were a part of a community that couldn't figure out how to help themselves.
I think that impulse, that kind of colorblindness impulse, comes mostly from white people. Like, I've never heard, I mean, I don't know. I'm sure it comes from people of all kinds, but I've heard it most from white people who are saying, like, let's do this as a way of getting past this racism thing. And I think in part it comes from a sense of shame and guilt about what racism has done, and kind of how racism was built by white people.
I don't want to be ashamed of being, and plus I'm a male. It's like every group out there can be pissed off at me because I'm white and a male. And that's a weird kind of burden that some people do feel, and I certainly feel it sometimes from people that I'm privileged, I get stuff that other people don't get.
I think we're all implicated in a racist system, and I play my part in it as a white person. So I do have individual responsibility and accountability. I mean, I'm part of the system, and I do things that both perpetuate it, and I try to certainly do things that challenge it.
I realize I've never said anything. When I've heard racist jokes, when I've heard racist comments, I've never said anything. I've never spoken up and said, hey, that's racist. Not once.
In my mind, there's no, I'm not involved in any conflict that involves race. I've only been the beneficiary of it. So to talk about it is I don't think I would sound very wise.
Being white means that I have the privilege to think that I'm not affected by racism, or that I don't even have a race, because I have all these other things like a gender and a sexual orientation, and those are pretty neat, so I don't have a race, but I do, and I'm white.
There it is. Probably one of the most honest things I have seen some white folks put together. That's called a conversation with white folks, if you want to look that up on the internet. A lot of times when we talk about racism, just like they said, the connotation is so negative that people can't believe that that could be them. But sometimes it's a whole subconscious thing. Hey, Rita. Hey, cuz. That is a subconscious thing. So some of the things that they were talking about was, I don't want to talk about race because that makes me feel uncomfortable. Or I'm apprehensive. Or I don't want to be offensive to anyone. Or it's a difficult thing to talk about. Or we don't want to see our own racism. Some play dumb. Some acknowledge that they do help to continue this cycle because they participate in the systematic thing that we know as racism. Hey, cuzzo. So when we say racism, we are basically saying the system of racism. Not so much the individual. Sorry, I was just typing something in here. Not the individual racism. We look at it, as I would tell one of my friends all the time. I said, just like one of the white people said in the video, you sit at the table with Uncle Joe or whoever, and you hear the racist things that come out of his mouth. And this is what I'm talking about, how this racism works. They sit closer to the racism than we do because they're related to the racists. So they get all the inside information. We live in a society where the Congress is what, 95% white? The majority of the corporations that we have to work for are probably 95 to 99% white. A lot of the educational systems that we find ourselves in, we're being taught by whites. And it's hard to talk to them about this situation because a lot of times they don't see it. Or I often say, you see it, you're just not looking at it. Then we get all these systems. I like the one where the one said, well, I have all these other distractions that I can use. I can say, okay, I'm a woman. I'm LGBT. I'm this, I'm this, I'm this. That tries to allow you to separate yourself from what it is. I talked to my daughter about that because in her efforts to find her way in the world and to be politically conscious and everything, what happens a lot of times when we send our kids away to college, they get with these groups. And then they begin to sympathize with all these different groups, but they don't have the history of what has happened with us associating with these groups. That often they will pin themselves to us for the cause of all, as they say, and then they get what they want, and then they abandon us. It has happened time and time again. So when I told her I don't have any time for other groups, I don't care what's really going on with them, because our line is 400 years long. So I have no time for any of the other stuff. I can sympathize, and if you want to come and work with me to push my agenda, then you're more than welcome. But if you think I'm finna sit around after 400 years and push your agenda in a system that has systematically denied us opportunities to get what we want, or as I call it, the fuckery, I can't do it. I won't do it. I won't participate, and I won't be a part of it, because that's not what our walk in this nation is about. Get yours when you get yours, but you're gonna have to get it without me, and that doesn't make me an evil person. That makes me a logical person, because the history has shown us what has gotten us, especially in corporate America and things like that. I was talking to a young man today, and he was going for an interview, and we talk often. He's a Israelite, and but we have been talking for a while about sometimes you're going to be forced into this system to work and do some things until you can get your footing. And I told him, I said, the only reason that black people have continued to try to integrate or mess with white people is because of economics. Economically, if we had our own thing and we were taking care of ourselves and we had our own land and things like that, we wouldn't mess with them. We would separate and keep it that way, and we would be better off. The most famous case of that, of course, is Tulsa, Oklahoma, where it was a self-sustaining town, had doctors, lawyers, banks, everything. It was the Black Wall Street. It was flowing. The money stayed in the community 28 days, like pretty much the whole month. We had movie theaters, everything we needed, we had separate. But they didn't want that. That was not beneficial to them. So when they talk about the riots of the early 1900s, there were no riots. Those were lynchings, and that was mob activity by the whites of America, period. I hate the way that they keep trying to rewrite history, but you know, this is what they do. Today they voted to, I guess now they're getting rid of Columbus Day in schools, public schools, and now it's going to be called Indigenous Day. They constantly try to rewrite their fuckery to make it more digestible to the newer people that don't know any better. We've been saying for years that Columbus didn't discover America, but he was part of the fuckery. What's the guy, Pulaski week that's coming up soon? Another traitor, but they give us the script of America, and we were supposed to digest it. So when I saw the NBA and all these players giving praise to these white people for saving them and embracing them, I'm like, wow. I always tell the story of going away to college in '83, and there was like 50 people per floor, and somehow it was one black person, me, and 49 white guys. And I said, okay, you know, this is nothing, this cool. I said, I'm gonna be cool. I'm gonna work it out. And for the most part, it stayed cool. Everybody acted cordial. But then I got a chance to catch him when we weren't around. And then that's when we became those niggers. And I could have walked away and just kept that knowledge to myself that I caught you all. I know where you're coming from now. But I was a confrontational Negro. And so I had to step in to let them know I'm up on your fuckery. I gave you all an opportunity to be fair, and you proved my point that you couldn't be fair. That's how it's been throughout my life dealing with these people. I don't care how nice they have appeared or anything. It was always something to me that says, I don't really trust you. Because like I said, every situation, I just always find that there's always going to be some situations where their behavior is going to cause you some damage in your life if you're not careful, if you're not wise, if you're not looking. Because everything they do is based upon their reality. To be fair, I don't think our reality is really real to them. Because this is what allows them to say, really? I remember issues at my job, and it was well documented, all the different types of stuff I was having. And then I'm talking to one of the white counterparts. Well, it seems like now they're trying to be fair to you. And I say being fair to me now does not erase all the unfairness, because you were not fair to me over a period of time to put yourself in a position. This is the racism that we keep talking about. You want to tell us, wait, be patient, so you can jump in front of the line. I wound up with two bosses that clearly I should have been the boss way before them. And then they said, well, we're the bosses now. We don't care what happened to you and how it happened. We're the bosses. I said, well, what happened, bosses? Because before y'all became the bosses and all while y'all been the bosses, I said, let's lay our work out on the table. It's just us. It's just us. Why don't we lay our projects out and let's compare, and then let's make a true assessment of that, boss. Oh, no. We don't have to do that because we the bosses. We understand the fuckery that happened for us to become the bosses. Now you gonna work for us, the bosses, or you ain't gonna work, Negro. And that's what we keep talking about, and that's why I do this show, so we can examine and give people the knowledge of how to answer these things and how to see these things, because no longer do we have to be those scared Negroes that are scared to speak up and talk, because sometimes the truth is going to set you free. I have not been in one meeting in corporate America where I didn't speak my mind, and that's probably why I never got a promotion in corporate America. In corporate America, 25 years, never got a promotion. Incredible. No matter how many projects I did, no matter how much documentation I wrote, no matter how many accolades, I was the only tech at my firm to get 3 exceeds expectations in a row. 3 years in a row, exceeds expectations. No promotion. I didn't even get the full amount of pay that comes with that. That would be 4% increase for an exceeds expectation. Combine all 3 of those years that I got an exceeds expectation, and I got 3.5% for 3 exceeds expectation. But they say, well, it seems like they're trying to be fair to you now. This is what disturbs me, when those that have made it get put on the spot and they don't use their platforms to illustrate. Because if I was sitting there and they say, well, who's the first white person you trusted? I'm retired. I got my money and everything. I can't say I really trusted any of y'all. I'm still working on that. That would have been all over the internet. That would have, messed up my endorsements. It would have did all these negative things, and I would have been required to apologize and tap dance and appease my masters, like Snoop is doing now. Snoop got out of line. They checked him. Then they came at them. They let him know, we will put you back in the dog pound. You won't have any more endorsements. We'll get rid of this Martha Stewart crap, the general commercials, all this stuff that we're allowing you to be, Snoop Doggy Dogg. But you're coming after one of our good Negroes that has been with us for a while. She is the assistant Negro to one of our ones, Oprah. So we hire them to do the fuckery, and we pay them well to do the fuckery. And you will not interrupt our program with your so-called hatreds, because we get to label your feelings and your emotions and what you do and how you live. We're in charge, so that's what we get to do. We get to say, Gail isn't wrong. You're wrong, Snoop. Oprah isn't wrong. You're wrong, Monique. I did a show a few months ago called Shame on You, Tyler Perry. Yeah, we all love Tyler Perry. And like I said, I was excited for his new shows and things like that. And then the fuckery. I get to watch a black woman get beat and spit on by a white man the first few minutes of the show. But this has to happen, Tyler. It's got to happen because we gave you this money and you got to prove to us that you are willing to do some things to embarrass your people, to show that we can depend on you. Now take your money. Your people is going to forgive you because you're a good Negro like the rest of them. And you understand truly how the system works. They got something else that's been coming down the pipeline, which I try to explain to the young people how this works. We've been crying for years. We've been spending all this money for student loans and everything. And then my thing has always been like, why are we as black people in this country that wouldn't allow us to read for 300 years paying tuition? That should have been the first part of reparations. But no, we let the good niggas say, well, go out there, get your education, pay for it. Don't worry about it. Student loans are forever. but this will give you an opportunity to grow. Now, slowly across this nation, you are seeing institution after institution starting to offer free education. USC today said free tuition for anybody making under $80,000 a year as a family. Ain't they the same ones that got all this scandal stuff going? Is this a ploy to clean up their issues that they've been living under for years, pretending like they didn't see anything, and now that it's been busted out, free tuition for everybody. Don't worry about it. Here you go. I think there are a couple of schools in Wisconsin, Florida. So all this is going to be free education. Then they're going to turn around and say it's all even, and we're going to say no, it's not. How is it even now? Because I can get a free education when that education just allows me to come and work in a corporation that you were allowed to build because of your head start. The whole thing with us as black people, or a lot of folks aren't getting this, we're talking about the 400-year head start that disadvantaged us. And now y'all want to play this, no, we're all equal game. Well, we're not all equal because you haven't wrote the check, as Martin Luther King said. We're coming to get a check, and you haven't wrote the check, and you haven't made it right, America. So that's why we can sit around and demand this check and demand that you do the right thing, but you'll distract and say, well, we got the presidential thing going on now, and we got the corona thing, and we got we're still working on that space thing, and we got so many other things to focus on, Negro. But just do like the other immigrants do. They come in and they join forces with us, and they help us, and they understand, and they don't give us this mouth. And you're like, well, I missed the part where they were enslaved and they were beat and they suffered hundreds and hundreds of Jim Crow lynchings and all that. I just missed that whole part. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. We're doing the narrative here. We're in control of the narrative. We're in control of the perception. And it is what it is, Negro. I'm a little bit over tonight. I don't know if anybody wants to call, but we got the number right there on the top of the screen, 872-267-2552, 872-267-2552. If you want to call in, this is going to last for about another 4 minutes. Dr. Boyce Watkins had Monique and her husband, Sydney, on the show last night. And they're hilarious. And like I say, a while back we had to apologize to Monique because she kept telling us about the fuckery of Oprah. And we just tried hard. And that's our Achilles. We try so hard to protect those that have made it into certain positions where we figure that they're going to turn around and help us. They're going to reach back over the wall and help us, not the perception of helping, like when she opened the school in Africa. That's great, Oprah. The school in Africa, that's great. I think it's closed now. What about the kids in America? What about the slums? There are so many black millionaires, athletes, and such, that if we had that inclination to build a black town, it could be built. But the problem is, we don't want to be around each other. And that's what Malcolm says at the beginning of the show. We don't want to take the time to talk to our brothers and sisters and try to change their mindset, because we're so consumed with the mindset that they have is because of how society bred that into them. Just like it was bred into a lot of us, and a lot of us were able to get out and go away and get out of the prisons of the neighborhoods and do something different. So I'm not absolving anybody. A lot of the internal issues that happen in our neighborhoods are us. There was a whole shameful thing the other day on 79th and Avalon where these 3 young men shot into a store and shot 4 people and killed 1 young lady, destroyed her life, and she was trying to do something with her life. Now, the pictures is very clear. They got the picture of the car. Somebody knows all 3 of them. But will they turn them in? Oh, no, that would be wrong. Why would we turn in killers? That's my boy. I don't want to see my boy going to jail for killing people unnecessarily. That's the ignorance that we have to fight. And we're not fighting hard enough, and those are our kids that are out there doing stuff. So I will have no sympathy when they catch them, and they will be caught. I'm not going to say a single word about the 90 years or 100 years that you get behind your dumbness. I had a teacher, and he used to tell us, you know what? I'm not going to get on you. I'm going to get on your parents, because if you ain't doing shit, probably means your parents ain't doing shit. To put you in line, to make sure that you're doing the right things that you're supposed to be doing, to make you a productive citizen. Well, it's a struggle out here. Yeah, it's a struggle for all of us, and that's why we're trying to do things to put things all together for all of us. I can't co-sign on you fighting with other blacks in the neighborhood to see who's going to destroy the neighborhood. That's ignorance to me. Not going to participate in it. Hey, you better wash some dishes and do some other things, because that's what we all had to do. We all been hungry and say, well, I'm going to go work for these people because I'm hungry. I worked in the restaurants for 8 years. 8 tons of leftover food and the scraps that they were telling us to throw in the garbage. It's all the way that your mind is built, because, well, I need those new Jordans, and I need this, and I need this. But the same people that do that, why aren't you taking that money and going to get your education, trying to change your life? Because you're not trying to change your life. You're trying to front and floss and do everything and boss out, as they say. And it's sad. And until we can get those things together, like I said, we started this night off talking about the white folks, but now we're back to us. And the economic slavery that still goes on, that allows these high-paid NBA players to still be manipulated into a conversation that truly, I don't know, maybe in their heart they feel like these white people actually saved them. I have never felt that feeling. I still have a deep distrust for any of them, because I don't, as I say, if you don't believe we deserve reparations in this country, if you don't want to vote on reparations in this country, I'm just not going to believe you. I'm not going to believe that you have the best interests of black folks as a forefront thought in your life. Does it make you a racist? I don't know. It may make you an associate racist, because you're in it with the others. And on this last note, even the poor whites, let me explain to you how it works for you. Say you're a poor white. All you have to do is follow the program. Worked with a white guy. His son was a total fuck up. But he would persevere with his son, because he said, I know if he gets this degree, he's going to be okay. I can help him, and he can get moved around in such a way with my contacts that he's going to be okay. That's not happening to Ray Ray or Nikisha. There are no conditions built into society that says even if you go get the most advanced degree, that you will be successful. We did a show called Professors in Poverty. There's no guarantees for you as a black person in this country because your network and your resources don't work like that. They don't intertwine like that. And a lot of times it's hard for you to even get a job out here without the co-signing of somebody white. It's ridiculous. But we still feel like we're forced to go through these changes, and we are, because it's your economic depravity here. I've got my own store, but and are the black people flocking in and spending tons of money? Not yet, but I have faith that they will. More people are coming in, and I want to do things with black people, and I believe a lot of black people want to do things with black people. Mostly everything I do, from buying buildings to buying homes or whatever work I get done, I seek out black people first. I'm going to give my people a chance until it hurts me. What I can't wait for is when we get a major black food chain. I think that's something that we are so lacking, that if you want to build a community, you got to be able to feed the people in the community. And we have yet to get to a level with a major black store because they don't exist. Or at least they don't exist here in Chicago. And if it doesn't exist in Chicago, it probably really doesn't exist a whole lot of other places. But we got black farmers. So, you know, it's just every day I'm waking up and thinking about blacks in this world and what we're doing and what we're going to do and how we're going to make it better for, maybe not so much for us, but for our kids, so our kids can have a future. And the history books don't reflect that the black people, although there were signs of success, we were still able to manipulate them and keep them in place and keep them in check and stay on top. As Mr. Phillips in my senior year in '83 said, hey, Mr. Robinson, why would they do anything to make you equal with them in their eyes? That's not the way it works. Everything they do is designed to make sure that they stay on top and you stay beneath them. And that was something for me to think about. Now that's something for you to think about. Love, peace. So we out of here.
Step out of the car. No, you don't have the right. Step out of the car. Do not have the right to do that. I do have the right. Now step out or I will remove you. I refuse to talk to you other than to identify myself.
Now if your woman ain't no revolutionary, she'll persuade you to be a fucking slave for the rest of your days. She'll be grooming you on how to behave, teaching you how to cool and buck dance so that you can be safe. If that brother ain't no rider, soldier, no provider, molder of young minds, check it out, you got yourself a bitch. Think about the time that you invested in him. If he's wearing them skinny jeans, you a lesbian. For every 100 black women who ain't locked up, it's only 83 black men remain. Take away 1.5 million black men who might have benefited their women and their children. You don't know a war when it's waged against you, when it makes you drive your baby mama to the clinic just to kill your own. Ain't no legacy to leave behind, cause ain't nobody sitting on your throne. You motherfuckers are asleep in a war zone, living a nightmare, dying in your own home. If you don't stop, you gon' lose what you got left. I'd rather die trying to fight for my last breath. Freedom or death, you asleep in a war zone, living a nightmare, dying in your own home. If you don't fight, you gon' lose what you got left. I'd rather die trying to fight for my last breath. Freedom or death, nigga. Sandra Bland was a rider. She wouldn't have committed suicide. You a motherfucking liar. It would not be wise to stop when you hear sirens and you see the police behind you, but you don't wanna die. They gon' shoot you if you run. They gon' say that you was going for the police gun. That's why they shot you like 120 times, but you was still coming, so they put another bullet in your lung. Them devils got you praying while they murder, because they know you on that bullshit. They steady with them bull clips and body armor. They kill your women in the street, cause they figure you too weak to do anything about it. You some shit, getting fucked in your sleep. They poison you every time you brush your teeth. You don't care, you behave like a slave. A bitch from the cradle to the grave, on your knees with your hands out, begging cause you want to be saved. Motherfuckers are asleep in a war zone, living a nightmare, dying in your own home. If you don't stop, you gon' lose what you got left. I'd rather die trying to fight for my last breath. Freedom or death, you asleep in a war zone. Living a nightmare, dying in your own home. If you don't fight, you gon' lose what you got left. I'd rather die trying to fight for my last breath. Freedom or death, nigga.